Team exclusive at 6. UConn police officers say their safety was put at risk during the men's basketball championship celebrations in the spring. Celebrations that quickly turned into a riot. Channel 3's chief investigative reporter Sam Smink got a hold of a state workplace safety investigation. She is here now with what it reveals. Sam.
Aaron, in a complaint made by the union, UConn police officers say they were understaffed, underprepared, and many officers got hurt as a result. The state found there were no violations, but said that UConn leadership needed to plan better in the future. It was a night of championship celebrations that turned violent. 16 people were hurt, more than a dozen arrested following the Huskies' NCAA win. 2 weeks later, UConn police union members filed a complaint with the state Occupational Safety and Health Department. The union told investigators nearly 13,000 students were there at the start of the April 3rd watch party at the Gamble Pavilion, with thousands more joining from the dorms following the team's win. Officers say there were not enough officers on scene to handle this. UConn officers say as they watched students climb the roof of the Fieldhouse and Student Union, start fires in multiple locations, and destroy light poles, stop signs, and windows, they were told, quote, not to have batons out or get their riot gear. And due to not having proper equipment, several officers were struck in the head by debris from the crowd. UConn officials tell the I-Team there were 55 police officers on campus throughout the night and 35 state troopers called to assist. In documents obtained by the I-Team, OSHA investigators say they found no violations when they investigated following the April complaint. But the investigators did say, although personal protective equipment and related equipment for crowd management was available and staged in line with industry standards, it did not appear to be readily accessible to the officer in the event it was required. In their complaint, the police union says staff were told to keep their riot gear, including helmets, in their vehicles. OSHA says UConn police leadership determined that PPE was not deployed nor deemed necessary. OSHA recommended that during future planning, UConn should designate strategic locations for prompt deployment of PPE and related equipment. UConn officials say they have now adopted this recommendation. In a statement, the university said in part, planning for the NCAA championship game evening was complex and comprehensive and involved various units throughout UConn, along with the Connecticut State Police. UConn continually assesses and refines its processes as part of the normal course of business and after any incident based on its experience, best practices throughout the realm of public safety, and recommendations such as this from DOL OSHA. UConn says they are committed to employees' health and safety. The I-Team reached out to the union representing UConn police. They declined to comment at this time. Live in the newsroom, I'm Sam Smink, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.